Good evening, televiewers. You're welcome to Prime Hour, the first edition for this week. An edition that is going to be looking at a dream by a young Cameroonian living in the United States of America. We call him Mr. Fru, who has written a book, and in that book, he's put out what he thinks is his vision, a dream for Cameroon. He loves Cameroon so passionately. He wants to see things work out for the best for Cameroon. And this evening we're going to be talking about the dream he has for Cameroon. Mr. Roland is our guest for tonight. And I'm sure he's going to enlighten us and give us hope to also dream for a better and best Cameroon. Mr. Roland Fru.
Leo's voice.
Hello, Mr. Roland. Good evening. We're glad to have you on Prime Hour for the first time.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Leo.
How are you doing? Hello, Mr. Fru. How are you doing? Hello, Mr. Fru, do you get me?
Yes, I can hear you, Mr. Leo. But it's not really audible, but I can hear you.
Okay, I guess our technicians do some work, and I get back to you in 2 minutes.
Awesome, but I think it's better now. I think it's getting better now.
Okay, if it's better, then we start the program. We're going to be discussing on a book that you've written to be published in the days ahead, titled The Cameroon Dream. And I would want to start by asking you what pushed you to pen down this dream for Cameroon in a book at this time.
Yeah, Mr. Leo, to begin with, I want to say thank you for this incredible opportunity. It is a privilege for me to write a book of this magnitude that depicts a vision to help move our nation forward. Our country has been through a crisis for approximately 7 to 8 years now. I've been a victim of the crisis. Yeah, so a relative of mine was kidnapped and ransom was being demanded. We complied to a certain extent, but at the end of the day, we started understanding what these young men are actually demanding. They needed certain things to make a life for themselves in Cameroon. They wanted good jobs. They wanted to have access to education. They wanted all the basic things of life. And realizing that these were the demands of the young people, it got me thinking. So proud to that, while I was pursuing my MBA with a concentration in finance, we were asked to write a paper on corporate social responsibility. It's rather unfortunate I didn't find sufficient data in Cameroon to write on corporate social responsibility. So I looked into Nigeria. And the Niger Delta oil crisis is what caught my attention, realizing that Shell has been extracting oil in this area, in Nigeria, since 1966. And the inhabitants of that area have been struggling, of which they sued Shell, they sued the Shell Royal Company, demanding for payments, or demanding for maybe reparation or something. So it caught my attention, and I started reading and researching more about the continent, and I realized that most African countries have been struggling post independence. So looking at that, it gave me perspective as to what is going on in our nation. So after being a victim of the crisis, I realized that our young people need help. And I think what is lacking is a compelling vision that can help us as a nation move forward. So that is where my journey began, to writing this book and putting out content on this subject.
Yeah, when you say young people needed jobs and opportunities, reason why they engaged in ransom taking after a kidnap. Do you see them actually creating opportunities for them from the monies collected for the ransoms all these years to justify that, okay, these guys, if they had better opportunities, they would do what we think is lacking in their lives?
So you're asking if they have better opportunities, are they doing something to create the opportunities? Is that what you're asking? Yeah,
you say you were a victim, a relative of yours was kidnapped, you paid ransom, and to your understanding, these guys are taking ransom from so many persons in and out of Cameroon because they lacked opportunities. Ransoms have been paid for over 5 years now. Do you see them putting the monies collected from ransom taking into use to say that, okay, if they had better opportunities, they would not be doing what they are doing today?
Yeah, that is a very interesting question. To put things in context, one thing I realized in that process of us negotiating with the kidnappers, because I handled this issue as any kidnap case, right? I've read extensively on the subject, so I handled it as every kidnap case. So the first thing was to be friends with the kidnappers. Do not argue with them, do not fight with them. And I think this is something maybe those who are going through a similar experience should learn as well. We did not argue with them. We try as much as possible to understand their grievances from their perspective, not from our perspective. Regarding the question you just asked, I think it is a mindset thing. There is statistics that says when something is going on in the community for 2 years, it becomes a culture. Whatever that is, if it persists for 2 years in a community, it becomes a norm. Like the crisis now has become a norm. But prior to this crisis, we know that there is a mindset, right? There is a mindset that motivated us to get where we find ourselves today. And so I go past the place to say, okay, this is what is going on right now, but there is a mindset. If this individual had opportunities prior to now, right, they wouldn't have involved themselves in what we see today. Yes, there are many other individuals that would have maybe chosen this path, but most of these young people are going into maybe the movement because they lack opportunities or because of the mindset as well. So I think that is a good place to start. Mindset.
Okay, mindset, and I followed you extensively on social media trying to rebuild mindsets of not only young Cameroonians, but Africans as a whole. Where did we miss it?
I think... Mm-hmm. Yes, our nation, we came together, Anglophones, Francophones. We know about maybe the Resolution 1608. We know about the Fumban Constitutional Conference 1961 and all that. I think Professor Julius Ngo can articulate and has articulated in the best way possible to explain the crisis. I'm not a historian per se, but I've read extensively to understand what is going on within the nation. Like I said, this is the journey that we have been on for more than 60 years. There is a certain mindset. We have actually missed it in different ways that we can't even imagine. Starting with the Greeks, Mr. Leo said that there are 3 categories of individuals in every given society. I think this will help us understand where we missed it. There are 3 categories of individuals in every given society. They said number 1 is the idiot. When the Greeks said an idiot, it was not an insult. It was a description of an individual within a given society. The idiot is someone who is private, doesn't engage in the political affairs of their nation. They are self-centered and cares only for themselves. That is the number 1 category. Number 2 is the tribesman. In every given society, you find the tribesman. Today, we can call it group partisan. People who want to maybe talk, speak, or act and behave just within the confines of their group. So this group of individuals are the second category that the Greeks describe in a society. They don't engage in anything that has to do with the entire nation or with the society as a whole. They only act and behave within the confines of their group. The third category the Greeks define is the citizen. These are individuals that are informed, get involved in the activities that has to do with building their nation, right? They engage politically, they engage with ideas in order to move their nation forward. So I think in our context, if you look at it, you will realize that maybe we have just 5% of Cameroonians that are actual citizens. We have a lot of tribesmen and we have a lot of idiots. But there is good news. Regardless of where you find yourself in this strata, you can be taught to become a citizen. And I think this book is actually laying that foundation. That is why we call it Le Rêve Camerounaise, the Cameroon dream. So the entire idea is to start the civic education, educating Cameroonians on what it means to be a citizen of a nation and the duties and responsibilities of a citizen.
Mr. Roland, we have network issues there. Now, I'll read through some of the portions which may be contained, which I'm sure are contained in the book. You say, the Cameroon dream emphasizes that sustainable growth and social harmony can only be achieved through a shared national identity, rooted in hard work, innovation, and collaboration. What do you mean by this? Shared national identity.
Yeah, Mr. Leo, that is an interesting question and a good segue. The reality is, I was born and raised in Bamenda, right, before leaving the country. One thing you realize is where we come from, it feels like Bamenda is a country on its own. That is the vibe that I got growing up. Even out of the country, it is the same energy. I understand that. That identity of being a Cameroonian first and then a Bamenda man second is something that was missing in my upbringing, right? And I had to cultivate that through education, civic education, which is what I am emphasizing. So when I'm talking about an identity, there is a certain way that Americans carry themselves, that when you look at them, when you speak to them, when you interact with them, you will understand that this is an American. There is a reason. There is a way they behave and carry themselves that you say these are Americans. So Cameroonians, there is a certain way that they behave and carry themselves that you identify them as Cameroonians as well. One thing that I've observed with the Americans is that shared identity, that regardless of their differences, they pledge allegiance to the stars and stripes of this nation. America is number one. We might have our internal dynamics, but this nation is number one. We will fight, we'll go to war to defend this nation. And I think I've never, ever in my entire life growing up in Cameroon had that patriotic spirit like I see Americans do towards their nation. So when I'm talking about a shared identity, because when this foundation is laid, progress, development, prosperity, and every other thing is going to align.
Now, Mr. Roland, I get very clearly what you intend to express there. You're talking about the fact that Cameroonians, firstly, are so attached to tribe, culture, and region, and then Cameroon comes next. Is that what you're saying? Because you see the guys are from the Nun region. We're talking about the Bamuns. They hold their culture and the Nun region so dear. It comes before any other thing. You have the guys in Cameroon, you say, yeah, the Nordists. We have the Nordists up there who also see themselves first as Nordists before Cameroonians. You have the Sawa people also. I don't know whether that is what you are talking about. And many persons have called for the need of a true Cameroonian identity that stands supreme above our tribal, regional, and other backgrounds.
Exactly, Mr. Leo, you nailed it. So if being Cameroon is prioritized above tribes, above groups or partisans and all of that. So if being a Cameroonian, what does that really mean? And I think these are certain questions that I had to ask myself. What does it mean to be a Cameroonian? And I think if we have a clear definition of which this book aims to articulate, if there is a clear definition of what a Cameroonian looks like, or how a Cameroonian carries himself or herself, if there is a clear explanation, detailed explanation as to what a Cameroonian looks like, and I think everything else that we are going through, we will overcome. And I think this is like that substratum that we cannot overlook. If we want to build a Cameroon that will thrive in the next 20, in the next 30, 100 or 200 years, these are the fundamentals that we have to establish in order to make progress.
You are challenging the next generation of Cameroonians to think beyond ethnic and linguistic divides. What, according to your findings, is responsible for this strong attachment to our tribes, our language, and when you look at the war ongoing in the country, it is based on language and other divides. What actually can explain this nature of Cameroonians who wants to find strong attachment, more attachment to the tribe?
Yeah, that is an interesting question, Mr. Leo. To be quite frank, it is human nature. Let me be a little bit psychological with this. This is how the human brain is wired, and this is how we evolved over time, Mr. Leo. Normally, we have maybe three parts of our brain that I'll use to describe this. There is the crocodile brain. That part of the brain is activated by the fight or flight mode. That is, even the information that I'm sharing right now about the future of this country, the first tendency of anyone hearing me for the very first time is to resist, right? If I say, hey, the first thing is you are thinking of running. And so over time, human beings evolved from this primitive culture, primitive society, where we had to deal with lions, we had to deal with elephants, we had neighboring villages fighting us. So there was always that fight or flight mode activated in our brain. That is the crocodile brain. And so in every given society that we have studied, going way back to the 14th century, we are not experiencing something new. It is our evolutionary journey. We are growing. So every nation on earth that we see today as a developed nation at some stage went through what we are going through. So what we have as an advantage today is that we can learn from those nations and easily elevate ourselves out of our conditions. So the second part of your brain, if I say, hey, as an example, and you trigger like, should I run? And when you turn, the second part of your brain is the meat brain, right? That is that part of the brain that if you turn around, you're like, oh, Mr. Leo say, oh no, it's Roland. Now you identify me. So now that part of your brain that say, okay, stay calm, everything is fine. He's your friend. That is the meat brain. And then whatever I'm saying, there is that part of your brain called the neocortex. That neocortex is the part of your brain that solves problems. It is that logical part of your brain. So over time, most people grew up in societies where it was survival of the fittest. And that is what you see emerging even within this crisis. People want to stick to their group, stick to their tribes, as our nation evolves. Why? Because they believe they can protect themselves, right? They believe that, understanding that we can all protect ourselves within the confines of a nation is a new concept to us. It is better with our tribe. So I think it's through education, like the Greek says, if you're not yet a citizen, if you are a tribesman, right, if you are an idiot, you can be educated to become a citizen. And it's now understanding that, oh, okay, this is the tribe I come from, this is the tribe I come from, but we are living in a civil society, in a country that has borders, a country that has a people, a country that has a government. Yes, this collective body, if we work as a team, we achieve more than sticking to our tribe. And this is going to spread across as to who you hire for a job, right? I'll not hire somebody just because they're from my tribe, but rather I will hire someone who is competent for the job. And I think that is the shift that we need to make. And unanimously, I wrote extensively in the book explaining these issues to help us understand that no matter where you're from, no matter the part of the country that you live in, no matter your socioeconomic background, we can create a society where every Cameroonian can have equal opportunities in this country. And there is enormous abundance for us as we start educating ourselves to understand that we are citizens of a country first, and then we come from a tribe, we come from a region second.
Okay, Mr. Roland, you capture this in what you call Cameroon Sustainable Development Project. Cameroon Sustainable Development Project. Is this the panacea to what we are living today? Because from your presentation, one would have the impression that Cameroon is not truly united. We are living with lots of cracks because of our strong attachment to where we come from. How does this Cameroon Sustainable Development Project provide a solution to what we live in Cameroon today?
Yeah, the scripture says, Mr. Leo, without the vision, people perish. And that is so true. A national vision. Without that, that is why we have been struggling. The Cameroon Sustainable Development Project was birthed through my interactions with fellow Cameroonians, listening to what they say they want, the kind of life they want to live, the dreams that they aspire to. I was able to put everything together and answer those questions based on research on what has worked. So the Cameroon Sustainable Development Project is an organization that is aimed at uniting Cameroonians who speak French and English for economic prosperity. We believe in peace, unity, freedom, and prosperity for all Cameroonians. So CSDP, we call ourselves nation builders. Yeah, that is how we address ourselves. And the reason is simple. The book was written in both French and English. I haven't, in my entire time growing up or reading self-help books written by Cameroonians, maybe seen a book that has been written in both French and English, just to help us have perspective on our lives. So this book was written in both French and English to engage the entire nation. The objective is to train 3,000 Cameroonians in the 7 industries that are transforming the global economy, with the hope that these individuals, after acquiring these skills, will go out there and create businesses in the private sector. And through that, they will be able to employ fellow Cameroonians and over time take our country out of obscurity and poverty. That is the ballpark of the vision. We identified 7 industries that are transforming the global economy. And these industries are agriculture, technology, finance, healthcare, renewable energy, real estate and construction, the media and entertainment. These industries are actually playing a very vital role at the global stage. So if we can focus on these industries, we will be able to make significant progress over the next 20 years. It is a 20 years project, and this book is an introduction to this vision. The inspiration of my findings comes from America, China, and South Korea, looking at how their economies have evolved over time. In 1990, China's GDP was approximately 390 billion US dollars. China was struggling with communism. And I think through their leader, Deng Xiaoping, after visiting America, came back home and said, we cannot keep going this way. There should be a way. I've seen what Americans are doing. And he said something so profound. He said, it doesn't matter whether the cat is black or white. As long as it can catch a mice, that is a good cat. And so they started reforming their economic policies. And I think over time, today, as we speak, China's GDP is approximately 17 trillion US dollars. So just look at it over the span of say 34, 35 years. In 1990 and today, China's GDP is approximately 17 trillion US dollars. And what did they do? They model a nation that has a blueprint that works. South Korea had a similar experience. South Korea was a very broken, backward nation. They were struggling as well. What did South Korea do? South Korea decided to specialize. They specialized. I think Cameroon probably gave aid to South Korea at some point in our history, if I'm accurate with that fact. So what happened in South Korea? South Korea, they specialized. They said we cannot do everything. Let's specialize in some key industries. And they did specialize in some key industries. I think their GDP is approximately 1.6 trillion US dollars today. So this is progress that nations have made before our eyes in our lifetime. And my thing was, 75% of Cameroonians are below the age of 40, 60% are below the age of 25. These are young, vibrant people that if they are put to work, we build in the private sector, we can be able to transform our nation really fast without depending solely on the government.
Now, you want Cameroon fixed, you want to train thousands of Cameroonians in the next 20 years to turn things around, drawing inspiration from the success stories of China, South Korea, and the United States of America. Are you not also worried with the flow out of Cameroon to Asia by young Cameroonians to Canada, to the United States of America, and to Europe? Are you not worried with the trend?
Sorry? Yes, can you come again, Mr. Leo?
Yep. I was asking that you want to use the success stories of China, South Korea, and the United States of America to train thousands of Cameroonians who in turn are going to turn our story around in Cameroon. But when we look at the way things are going, thousands of Cameroonians, young Cameroonians, are living to the east in Asia, moving north to Europe, or moving to the west towards the United States of America where you live. Are you not worried that almost everybody wants to leave Cameroon?
Yeah. I myself, I'm guilty. I'm out of the country, right? I want to be very frank. I empathize with every Cameroonian. I do empathize with every Cameroonian and the conditions that we find ourselves in. A young man said something to me very fascinating. He said, the same Cameroonian that you see in America working extremely hard, putting in the hours, is the same Cameroonian that would have probably been reluctant or lazy back home. Is the same human being. Nothing changed. They just found themselves in a different environment and they had to thrive. And so they decided to put in the work. My thing is, we might think we will find greener pastures out of the country. I encourage anyone that desires to travel. It is important for you to go out there and experience the world. If you want to, I won't stop you. But the reality is, we have to ask ourselves the question, where is this leading us to? This mass migration over a considerable period of time, where is this leading us to? And this is what I've found out, Mr. Leo. You can travel abroad to America, Europe, and maybe you get the money. But there is something very important that made that nation where you're traveling to. It is the mindset of the people. The way the people think, the way the people believe and behave and carry themselves in their society. You cannot, even by association, carry that back to your country. One of my mentors, Tony Robbins, said, if you want to be successful, you do three things. He says, you look for someone that is extremely successful. You model three things from them. Number one, he says, model their belief system. There is a certain way that they believe that enable them to achieve that level of success that you desire. Number two, he says, model their physiology. There's a way that they dress and carry themselves in the society. And number three, he says, model their syntax. How they speak, how they articulate, and how they pronounce words and all of that, how they use words. So he said, if you model the belief system, model how those individuals carry themselves, dress, and look in a given society, and how they speak. And he said, if you model these three things, you will be successful. And we live in one of the best times in history. Look at this conversation we are having right here. This is a blessing. At first, I need to get into a plane and probably get to Cameroon in order for us to have this conversation. But through this social media or through these devices and apps, we are able to connect and have this conversation. And so with this, I think it's a blessing, and we can utilize these tools and build our nation. Because regardless, every Cameroonian that I have seen abroad either wants to build a house or go back home. Either wants to project their culture wherever they find themselves. And then my question is, why don't we just build what we want to see in Cameroon? Why can't we do it? We can. And I think that is where I draw my inspiration, and that is my perspective on the question. I don't know if that answers your question.
Okay, it answers. I hope that our televiewers are also understanding what you're saying. But if you're watching the program, wherever you are watching us from, you may want to put a question through to Mr. Roland Fru. Just send them to my number, and I'm going to ask him the question. But somebody is writing, asking you to tell how do we establish who a Cameroonian is when we have to renew our ID cards after every 10 years. I understand where it's coming from. How do we as citizens renew our citizenship after every 10 years? Are you comfortable with this system on the way things are handled out here? You have lived in Cameroon before moving over there, but you know that after every 10 years, we have to renew our ID cards and then our passports after 5 years.
So every Cameroonian renews their ID card every 10 years?
Yes.
Is it a problem?
Hello? Just go on.
Yes, Mr. Leo, I'm asking.
I don't know. He's asking you the question.
Oh, someone is asking me the question?
Yes, somebody is putting the question to you.
I'm not getting you well.
Yeah, to him, he understood that Desmond is writing from Bamenda. He says, how do you know who a real Cameroonian is as a citizen of the nation when that citizen is required to renew his ID cards after every 10 years?
Oh, I see. Okay. Straightforward, Mr. Leo. I think even right here in the United States of America, you have to renew your ID card. Yes, if you're a citizen, you still renew your ID card. So I think that doesn't make you not being a citizen of a country, because you have to renew your ID card. If you renew your ID card, there are definitely state laws that require you to renew your ID card, and we obey that state law. I think we should not look at it like, if I'm renewing my ID card, that indicates that I'm not a citizen of that country, or I'm not regarded as a citizen of that country. If I'm renewing my ID card, that is an opportunity for me to engage, even with state officials. That is an opportunity for me to go out there and really see, because most of those offices, those state offices and government offices, that office was built with taxpayer money, right? And we actually pay those people to serve us. And I think it is an opportunity for you to engage with your nation, understand what is happening within your country. So I don't think it makes you less of a citizen because you have to renew your ID card. That is done globally. So I think, I don't know if that answers that question.
Okay. Now, the book actually spells out how you intend to train 3,000 and above Cameroonians. How do you intend to do that? The training will take place in Cameroon or out of Cameroon?
Yes, so the training is going to take place in both in Cameroon, yes, predominantly in Cameroon, because like you said, many people, when we talk about traveling abroad, there is a high tendency that people leave and never return. But in most cases, that is why we are starting with education. Education is the foundation. When people understand their civic duty, and then we engage in economic projects like this one we are talking about, it is easy for people to be committed when they understand their obligations, right? It is through education that I decided to say, okay, it shouldn't be about me. I owe a duty and responsibility towards my nation, right? So that is where it starts. It starts with people understanding first who they are, being citizens of Cameroon, what are your duties and responsibility, and then we move on to initiate developmental projects. So the trainings are going to be done predominantly in Cameroon. I hope that answers your question.
You try to paint a picture of a typical Cameroonian back here, and out of the country here, we would lazy around, and what you're saying is the truth, because we will go partying, if it is possible, the whole day, and really do not find time to work. But out there, you have to work out your ass, because I know you have to pay bills and everything. What is fundamentally different, and how do you want to see what obtains out there happen in Cameroon?
Can you come again, please? It was breaking. I didn't hear you.
Now, you painted a picture of a typical Cameroonian in Cameroon, in a Cameroonian setting, and maybe the US or Europe setting, where in Cameroon, a Cameroonian will lazy around. But out there, you have to work out your ass, because understandably, you need to pay the bills and every other thing. How do we get people stay back here and as productive as they are out there?
I still find it difficult hearing you, but okay. I heard about paying bills and compared to Cameroonians back home. Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
Like, how do we manage to be patriotic while we have to pay bills? Is that what you're asking?
No. I was saying that your previous submissions, you said that a Cameroonian in Cameroon would lazy around, but out there in the United States or in Europe, they will walk out their ass, and we would understand that, okay, they have to pay their bills. But you said it's because of the system, yes, that operates out there. How do we get Cameroonians fully productive in Cameroon? How do we change the mindset and the system to get Cameroonians perform efficiently as they do out there, but back here in Cameroon?
Yeah. So, like I said, from what I understand, Mr. Leo, we have maybe been raised in a society where we have been taught otherwise. We might think life is maybe better for others out because they are abroad. Many abroad are really struggling. But one thing that I guarantee you is there are better opportunities for us in Cameroon than abroad. I can attest. I've talked with multiple Cameroonians. Maybe during the book launch, we are going to have other Cameroonians that are doing well for themselves in Cameroon share their testimonies. And there are massive opportunities for you to succeed in Cameroon compared to in the diaspora. And the reason is simple. We have to get to the place where we understand we have everything in the inside of us to succeed in our nation. We have what it takes to succeed without depending on the government. We do have it. And that is what Ninja Mfrundi meant when he said power to the people. That you got the power. And that was the song he was singing everywhere, like, it's power to the people. And when we see the man with the arm up, the parents knew what that meant. That means you have the power. Now, a quick story to help us have perspective, how maybe systems like this are built that can help you believe that it's even possible. Because someone listening to me is like, oh, this dream is too big, and maybe it is not achievable, because if anything good will happen in Cameroon, it has to happen through the government, not through us. 90% of the jobs in America, Mr. Leo, is created in the private sector. If you ask most of your siblings in America or friends in America, they will tell you that the companies that they work for are owned by individuals. So 90%, imagine 90% of the jobs in America is created in the private sector, not the government. We have chiefs and we have villages back home. We all know that when you are going to meet a chief, you come with something. When you're coming to meet a chief, you have to hold a bottle of wine or something, or come with food and drinks and all that. When you're going to meet a chief, you come with something. This is the foundation that we have, and we understand this. We don't criticize the chief. We never say, Chief, take care of us. Chief, what are you doing to maybe help our community get better? We go and give to the chief. We don't complain. I don't understand how, when it comes to the nation, we are depending on the government to do something for us. When we have this foundation, I think that foundation of a chief and its subject, I don't think it's a popular idea in the States. We know that when we're coming to meet the chief, we come with something. So if you're going to go meet the president, you should come with something. And I think it is us understanding that we need to produce and take care of our government, and not the government taking care of us. Most of the individuals in the country that if you look at in the government are probably maybe 65 and above, most of them, if I'm not mistaken. And if you look at it, that makes approximately 3.5% of the country. 3.5% of Cameroonians are above the age of 65. And we cannot depend on these individuals to take care of us. We have to take care of them. And the way we do that is empowering ourselves in the private sector. Now, to add to that, at the end of the Civil War in America, 1865, after the assassination of Abraham Lincoln, the 16th president of the United States of America, new types of leaders emerged. They were not politicians. They were businessmen. These individuals emerged in a broken nation. The entire world was looking at America at the time and said this was a failed experiment. This group of people left Europe coming over here to create a new nation, and it's a fiasco. New leaders emerge. The Vanderbilts, 5 men that are generally identified as those who built America. These 5 men were businessmen. Cornelius Vanderbilt, J.P. Morgan, Henry Ford, Rockefellers. These men, Andrew Carnegie, these men, Mr. Leo, through shared will and determination, started businesses in this country, put Americans to work, and in over 50 years, they changed their story forever. This is the story that is not often told a lot about the American dream. These people laid the foundation of what we call today the American dream. It's not the government. It was hungry citizens in the private sector that emerged, looked at their broken nation, and said, never. This country is not going down. And they built America. And they engage in very specific industries, again. And that is how this research for this book was done. And they involved in very key industries that could move the nation forward at the time. Cornelius Vanderbilt, for example, was involved in railroads. There was no roads in America. They built roads. He built roads. Henry Ford was into automobiles. I think you probably know Henry Ford. You heard about the Ford vehicles. He involved in automobiles. J.P. Morgan got engaged in banking. Andrew Carnegie in steel. Right? These individuals changed America and built the nation that we see today. Not government. And through taxes, they have been able to build their government.
Okay, so many persons are asking questions. I hope you have time to take them. Let me read out some of them. This one says, to unchain an enslaved mindset needs extra energy. My dear African youth, dying in the Mediterranean and Sahara isn't the ideal for motherland. Africa is our home, and let us unite and build our motherland. If we can't, then who will? Those who enslaved, raped, killed, and continue to exploit our resources. Unity is strength, and strength is power. Gad is writing from Douala, President of African Youth Opinion. Good evening, Mr. Leo. I wish that you ask Mr. Fru how he intends to deal with the heavy taxes that would be levied on the creation of those companies. This one says, good evening, Mr. Leo. I like the topic of today, but the guest of today forgets that in developmental studies, there is what is called an enabling environment. The environment of most Western countries are widely different from that at home. People triumph easily out rather than at home because of our poor systems. He has a good project, but many citizens are not lazy. These projects will crash because of the poor environment in Africa and Cameroon in particular. Why didn't he make it here before going out? Collins, I was writing from Momentum. But Mr. Roland, so many persons are looking at the enabling environment to get this project fully functional and to make impacts. Do you consider the climate under which Africans and Cameroonians are operating under?
Yes, I factor everything into consideration, Mr. Leo. When they talk about an enabling environment, like I've had that question before, and I've thought about it. Enabling environment. If you need an enabling environment to succeed in life, then you are not ready or hungry for success. That I'll start there. If you need an enabling environment to succeed in life, then you are not ready for the price to pay to be successful. That is where I start. The 5 individuals that I've mentioned that built America had no enabling environment. This is a modern concept that has been created by certain sociologists to keep you just where you are, by letting you know you need an enabling environment, so don't do anything. That is a social construct. Talking about me not making it back home before traveling abroad, and that is very interesting, but it's important that people should ask questions, right? It's important. I love that. I have always been a hungry young man, even back home. Always wanted to do something. Volunteered, serve. I worked for a local radio station in Cameroon for more than 4 years without getting paid. Just serving. Why? Because I was hungry. I wanted to be part of something that builds my community. I was with friends and they were like, okay, let's go join a film production company and maybe become actors and all of that. And I looked at everything and I asked the question, why can't we create ours? There's no film club where people can go learn how to act. Why don't we build one? And they said, Roland, you dream too big. You dream too big. Just stay around here. Maybe that enabling environment wasn't, right? And I said, let's try. We prayed over it for 3 days. We fasted and prayed over the idea. I said, let's just pray over this idea. I feel it so strong in my heart that we can build something. Mr. Liu. So after that, I put my elder brother and a couple of my friends together. At that time, my brother had this video phone was just coming out at the time. It was luxury to have a video phone, and I borrowed my brother's video phone. We were able to look at ourselves and say something on the camera at that time. And then we uploaded it on my computer, and we were able to see it and like, wow, we could actually do something, record it and play it, and people watch. That alone, Mr. Liu, word started going out in the community. Like, oh, wow, we've done this. Friends started coming together. Like, wow, we heard you guys are doing X, Y, Z, and we want to be part of it. Someone showed up and said, I know someone who has a camera. Okay, now who is the person? Can we meet them? I went there, talked to that individual. Oh, we really need a camera. Mr. Liu, from those humble beginnings, starting with the phone, we were able to create shoot something with an actual camera. And after that filming, I didn't know anything about editing. I didn't know anything. I'm like, what are we going to do with the footage? We watch it on the computer. It looks good. What are we going to do with it? I'm like, I started going out, talking to friends. And all of a sudden, one of my elder brothers in the community, I'm like, oh, we just filmed something. It looks really cool. Can you take a look at it? He looked at it, and he was into computers and edit. He used to repair computers and all that. And he said he can edit. I said, you can edit? He said, yes. I said, can you do it for us? I said, yes. He said, I'm not going to charge you. I will do it for you. Mr. Liu, within 2 weeks, he called me and said, hey, this is the DVD. And I will never forget that day where I gathered the crew in my father's living room and we watched what we had produced. Mr. Liu, that was the beginning of a business, a film industry that we started in that Cameroon. Talking about enabling environment from nothing. When we start from nothing, the grind is sweet. If you look for enabling environment, you will never, ever enjoy that journey of entrepreneurship, that journey of growth and success. From there, we were able to move into other maybe large-scale productions, produce actually a film, a feature film, where people could come now and sit in the hall, get a DVD and go back home. But it all started from a phone, an idea in my mind, and a phone from my elder brother. We can see something. Today we have phones. The technology in this phone, Mr. Liu, alone is more than this phone. The capacity of the technology in this phone is more than the technology that was used to send a man to the moon. This is what we have in our hands today. So when we talk about enabling environment, I've heard that. And I don't need an enabling environment. We don't need that. what we need is a vision, and to believe in that vision, and every other thing is going to align. I think that is a good place to start.
Okay.
So if you ask me, I would say, if I were in Cameroon, life would have been much more better for me than out here. Yeah.
Okay, someone wrote a message that I took down. He is saying that, okay, I believe in what Mr. Roland is saying, because I know so many persons who have made it in Cameroon and are living a very big without waiting for that enabling environment. So, Mr. Roland, kudos, and we are hugely behind you. And we'll continue. Mr. Roland, now, these guys that you are going to train, where are you getting the funds to get that done?
Yeah, that is a very important question. Yeah, Mr. Leo, Cameroonians will predominantly fund the project. We started a war for 7 to 8 years without a dime coming from the government. We sustained it. Mr. Liu, Cameroonians will fund the project. I want to be very honest with you. If we are hungry for change, we will build our country if we really desire change. The government did not support this war. We did. Cameroonians everywhere around the world put in their dollar towards what they believe. If the government will help us, I'm looking at it more from the standpoint of maybe tariffs and regulations in these industries so that local businesses can thrive in these industries. Because if I'm selling a bucket of tomatoes for, say, 6,000, and someone is importing tomatoes from China and they are selling it at 4,500, that means I'm going to go out of business if I'm a local farmer. So where government comes in play is to regulate these industries that we have identified, that a nation can really emerge and become a developed nation if they specialize in these industries. So government, that is the role government will play. Government will help us to regulate these industries. If government helps financially, we take it, but we are not depending on that. So Cameroonians will predominantly fund this project. They will fund the project. If we get help from international organizations or maybe other nations, that would just be a plus. But our focus is what can we do for ourselves? Because there's this saying, I heard this in a church, and it really struck my mind, and it is fascinating, that if need was seed, Africa will be green. I repeat that again. If need was seed, the entire continent of Africa will be green. This strategy of always depending on other nations to fund our projects, this strategy of always depending on other people to do for us what we can do for ourselves, is one of the greatest handicaps for the development of Cameroon. Looking for enabling environment, looking for government to come help us, that strategy is what has held us back. Let me be clear with something, Mr. Liu, as we move forward. What will stop this project? I know nothing is going to stop the project, but I'm saying if there's anything that will be a drawback on this project, it'll be Cameroonians themselves. It will be Cameroonians themselves. I've talked with key influential figures in the country. I've talked with a lot of, key influential figures, some of the ministers. Mr. Leo, the people who have asked me for, maybe the first group of individuals that asked me for registration documents were ordinary citizens in the community, not even the leaders in the country or the member, the authority in the country. No, all of these key influential figures, none of them asked me for registration documents. Cameroonians in the community asked me for that. They act more as gatekeepers than even the influential figures, the ministers or the president that they are talking about in the country. No minister has showed up here to ask me about enabling environment, who is going to fund you, this is the government is going to stop you. None of them have said anything to me of that nature. The people that have opposed or challenged or are curious, I'll call it curiosity, I love it because I will give response, are individuals within our society. When we start taking that off our mind and start understanding, somebody asked me about registration documents. Yes, we are a registered organization right here in the state. But I asked them the question. We joined the Ambazonian movement. We've lost more than 40,000 people. Can you show me the registration documents of Ambazonia? Can you show me the enabling environment that they had before they started their project? Where is their headquarters? Can we move around our community and see where their office is and go there if we need something or want to ask questions? Do we have any of that? No. But we were able to go along with this. And I'm like, if there's anything that is stopping us, it is us. A key example that I want to bring to help us contrast this point. There is a gentleman that I was doing a little bit of research on called Very Dark Man in Nigeria. I'm sure you're familiar with the character. Very Dark Man.
His internet is 700.
It's a gentleman that emerged from the slums in his community, saw what was going on in his local community, and decided to advocate for change. He was not fighting the government. He was letting the people get your act together and treat each other right. That is how each and every one of us got to know about Very Dark Man. He didn't have an organization when he started. He was not registered anywhere when he started. There was no enabling environment. When we're talking about enabling environment, Very Dark Man in Nigeria didn't have an enabling environment. Today, some of our bloggers in the country are celebrating his bravery. I've been out here in this space. We have an organization. We have a university, Nation Builders University. We've started a newspaper company. We've written a book to explain the vision for a nation. And yet we still have maybe questions like this coming up. Like, can you explain more? And I'll say, if Cameroon will change, we have one last hope. And that hope lies in the people. King Solomon, the wisest man who ever lived, said something very profound. He's the one who also said, without a vision, people perish. But most importantly, King Solomon said, go look at the ant and study its ways. They have no leader, yet they store up food for themselves. They cooperate and work and build and do something for themselves. And since he said that, Solomon, the wisest man in the Bible, I decided to study the ants, especially the leaf cutter ants. We call them soldier ants. If you look at the structure of their system, it has inspired many technologies that we see around the world today, including robotics, railways, has been inspired by the soldier ant. They don't have any central leader. You work based on how you were born. If you're small, there is a role for you to play within your own department. If you're big, you go out there, maybe you become the army and you protect the entire caste. But the ant has been a source of inspiration for me. Because if I see America, no. Solomon said we should go look at the ant and see how they structure themselves and provide for themselves. And they go out there, cut leaves. All you had to do was just blaze a trail. If you go find food, you come back and let the entire community know. And how do you know? You just spray around pheromones. They're going to follow that track to where the leaf is. And before you notice it, they have cut the entire tree and they're taking it to their camp to generate food to feed themselves. This is what I've been able to learn just from little creatures no enabling environment for the ants, and yet the ants, they store up food and they never lack. And to that effect, I say, and that is why I keep the conversation so basic. Even the book, I wrote it so basic. At least if you're a fifth grader, that is, if you are maybe 10 to 11 years, you can at least understand what is written in this book. So that when we cooperate, we can build something amazing, and we don't need an enabling environment, or we don't need help from maybe outside forces that tomorrow you'll be indebted to them, tomorrow you'll be depending on them, tomorrow they have to still control you after they give you what you are demanding for, and that becomes your story. We can build something for ourselves, by ourselves, if we are determined and united.
Okay, Mr. Roland, the Cameroon Sustainable Development Projects is, you highlight 5 values aligned with the 5 pillars of the CSDP. The first, you say, is unity, bringing communities together to foster national identity. I want us to go through the 5 values that you've raised, and I want you to, if possible, for you to explain them. You want to bring unity to Cameroon through the bringing communities together to foster national identity and pride. How do you intend to see that done?
Okay, yeah, that is an interesting question, Mr. Leo. The Peace and Reconciliation Commission is another department that comes with this vision. Peace and Reconciliation Commission. Anglophones had a legit cause. They've gone through their own fair share of challenge in our country. We agree. There's no disputing that. Like, we can't dispute that. Other groups in the country, the Bamilikes, the Pygmies, the people in Douala and many other parts of the nation have had their own challenges in our country. No matter what you are going through in life, there is always something you can do to make it worse. So the Peace and Reconciliation Commission is another strategy that the South Africans deployed after the end of the apartheid. And so it was a platform where the grievances of the people within the nation could be heard, like their voices could be heard. It is very important to hear people out when they are crying. And I think the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, in collaboration with the government or in collaboration with other stakeholders in the nation, is a department where we can be able to hear everyone's perspective as to how maybe they feel about the country, and to let them know that we hear you, we understand you, but let's move forward and build. And I think that Truth and Reconciliation Commission, with Cameroonians that are hungry for change, and that is why we are talking about 3,000 Cameroonians, because if you say you want to bring change into a country and you think the entire nation needs to unite for that change to happen, that change will never come. A few people within a given society always emerge and bring about transformation in that country. We don't need the entire nation to change Cameroon. So these individuals will not only be trained to start businesses, they will serve in different capacities to help facilitate this conversation, create awareness, make sure that everyone's voice is heard, and then we can be able to move forward together. Look at where we find ourselves. It's like a gridlock. We are stuck every day, one story to another, like somebody's killed, somebody's kidnapped, the same story. And I think that this is an opportunity for us to hear everybody out. And if we are waiting for the United Nations to come do that for us, it won't happen. If we are waiting for the government to come do that for us, that won't happen as well. But if we start thinking about what the future looks like, we will be able to start sitting together in small tables and talking and moving on with this project. So I think that is what the Truth and Reconciliation Commission will achieve within the CSDP movement.
Okay, we're going to take a short break to come back. We have some technical issues. Mr. Roland, can we just try to see if they are fixed, and then we continue with our discussion? Welcome back. You're watching Prime on My Media Prime, and our guest tonight is Mr. Roland Fru, who has just written a book captioned The Cameroon Dream, as seen by Mr. Roland. He has a dream for Cameroon. He has a dream for young Cameroonians and Africans. He thinks that the best is here. He's calling on Cameroonians to be patriotic and to love this nation and to do everything possible to turn our story around. He has used examples of South Korea, examples of China and the United States of America, using also the examples of persons who made America to be great as it is today. He wants that to be seen and realized in Cameroon. So we're talking with him on the values that have been expressed in the Cameroon Sustainable Development Project that should be contained in his book, The Cameroon Dream. The Cameroon Dream. And Mr. Roland, if you're there, I want us to look at the values of peace and freedom, prosperity. You also talk about them.
Yes. Yes, Mr. Leo. There is a saying that if you want justice, you must be willing to sacrifice your peace for that justice. That is, if you desire justice so bad, you should be willing to sacrifice your peace in order to get that justice. I think life plagues each and every one of us. Your reaction is what really matters. How you respond to what happens to you is what matters. It's not about what happens to you. It is how you respond towards what happens to you that matters. Peace, I believe, is something so dear that you should not trade peace for anything. Someone will say, no matter what you're doing, if it will cost me my peace, it's not worth it. And we have seen the consequence of pursuing justice over peace. And I think peace is something that is so essential, especially for development. Look at our nation today. If you want to have investors come invest in Cameroon, they predominantly think like the entire Cameroon is at war. Why? Just because of the stigma of this crisis. This is something that is affecting maybe the nation significantly. We cannot just push it under the rock. So peace is very important even for development. That is, if people will desire to invest in you, invest in your country, they should have that sense of understanding that your country is at peace. So peace is important for development as well. So this is why we should all prioritize peace. And I believe that there is enormous opportunities at our disposal that we can take advantage of if we have a peaceful environment. And this goes to every young person, even in the community, that there is a lot that you can make of yourself in Cameroon when we all unanimously create that peaceful environment. Peace is priceless. And there is a quote here I wanted to read. It says, anger, if not restrained, is frequently more hurtful than the injury that provoked it. If anger is not restrained, it frequently becomes more hurtful than the injury that provoked it. So when we harbor peace, now we realize that we are really free. And then from there, every other thing is going to add on to us. And that's what the Bible says: seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and then all these other things shall be added unto you. So I think peace is that foundation. And I think you wrote a book on this subject as well. And I think it cannot be talked about enough. People need to understand that if there's anything that you want out of your life, you want to see your children grow, you want to grow old with your wife, you want to see your parents and your grandparents, you want to live a life that honors your society, you'd have to prioritize peace at all costs. Yes, you have to preserve peace if you want to see your society thrive.
Now, so many persons are also writing they would want to have copies of the book. How can they have the book, and when is it going to be launched?
Yes, so the Cameroon Dream will be launched on November 25th. That is going to be online, and it's going to be online. It's going to be live on Facebook. It's going to be live on YouTube. So we're going to stream live the event. It's going to be a 4-hour event. We have a lot of interesting guests and speakers for that event. So it's going to be live. And through the launch, you'll be able to buy the book from Amazon. You can buy it online on Amazon. We can ship to you if you live maybe in the United States of America or in Europe. We can be able to ship the book to you. But if you live back home, you will be able to get maybe even a Kindle version. So that is, you can have a digital version of the book for now. And then we are planning, we're making arrangements to have some copies printed and shipped to Cameroon, where we'll have some centers where you can go buy, or bookshops where you can go buy. For now, we are launching, and so you'll be able to buy the book on Amazon or Kindle, or you can buy it directly on our website, and I can autograph it and ship it to you.
Okay. So if you want to talk to Mr. Roland, just write to me. After the program, I'll share his number with you so that you can also get to him. You talk about sustainability and prosperity. How do you intend to get that done with the 30,000 persons you want to train?
Sorry?
I'm talking about the values you highlighted. You highlighted 5 pillars. You say unity, peace, yes, freedom, prosperity, and sustainability. Now, prosperity and sustainability, how do you want to get that done? You know what the mindset of a typical Cameroonian, especially a youth, looks like. But for us to have prosperity sustainably, like you said, we need a mindset shift, which starts now. How do you want to get that done?
Yes, the Nation Builders University is the educational arm of this organization. Mm-hmm. So we believe that the people must be educated to have perspective. And just to make mention, the foreword of this book was written by Professor Julius Ngao. And so he was able to read the book, go through the book, and see how the book was written, and the sources of inspiration, maybe going even back into history, looking at figures like political philosophers and their perspective on nation building. So we have a university called Nation Builders University. That is our educational arm. They are Cameroonians. This organization is ongoing. We are not starting. We have been rolling, right? We have a couple of Cameroonians, right, that have come through this institution, read some of the books, go through some of the courses, and it has changed the way they think about themselves and about their lives. Some of them have gone on to start multi-million businesses as we speak right now in that same Cameroon that we're talking about. And this is just the foundation of this movement. But just for the time that they have been around this institution, their mindset has changed. We have meetings every Monday and every Friday where we discuss what they've learned in the course, what they've learned from the books that we have in our library. They've gone through those books and it's changing their lives. Just the first book in this course will change the way you think about your life forever. You will start those questions that you're asking when you're done with just the first course of Nation Builders University. When you're done with it, all those questions that you're asking, I'm not sure you'll be able to ask them again. So I think education is the foundation. We are taking 5 years to lay the foundation for this project. Our first phase of this project is approximately $14 million to handle some of the issues that have been going on in the nation, or handling maybe some people that have been internally displaced, providing resources for those who have the passion to study, or those who we have carefully selected that we think they have the love for this country and they want to see the country move forward. The first phase of this project is approximately $14 million. So far, every dime that has gone into moving this project forward has come directly from my pocket. There is no Cameroonian so far that has contributed a franc. And this is what I mean by citizenship, that you look at the country, you love the country, and you're able to sacrifice for that country. There are individuals here that are working with us, even with our newspaper department, and we are inspiring them or maybe motivating them with some financial aid. And all of this is coming out of our pocket to say we believe in the country, because Americans say put some skin in the game. Put some skin in the game. That simply means before you tell me to support something, I want to see how much you have put into it. I want to see how far you have gone with it. Do you believe in it so much that you're able to put your own hands in your pocket and do something? So far, we haven't asked a dime from Cameroonians, and we haven't a Cameroonian has not contributed 1 franc towards this project. And I just imagine, like, if all of us can have this kind of passion towards our country, the change will come. Even the same government that we are talking about will turn around and see just the love that we have for our nation and how we are willing to build that country. They will get engaged. Everybody, every Cameroonian will be engaged in this project. And I believe that with almost certainty. And I'm saying all we have to do, if you are looking at what is going on out there, you don't know what to do. When you come, the first step is go through Nation Builders University. Go through Nation Builders University. Yes, it will take you maybe 6 months to go through Nation Builders University, the first phase. By the time you are done, you will go out there and start something in your community. You will not even have to ask me. You will go out there and start doing something for your country. And you will see how it will be a blessing to you. And as you do it, you start realizing there was money here. There were opportunities in this country, but I didn't just see it. Yes, those are some of those testimonies, and we will be sharing them during the book launch. And you hear from people within your own community, within your own country, that were thinking the same way, feeling like everything here is broken, there is no hope here. You hear their testimonies. They have gone on to start businesses and also employ other people just within this organization and hire them, and they have gone on to do projects together from here. And this is what transformation looks like. It starts with the mind, and Nation Builders University is step one for every Cameroonian that is hungry for change.
Mr. Roland, where does this university operate? How do we enroll to be students of the university?
Sorry?
Where does it operate, the university? Where is it found, located? And how do we become students?
Yes, so it is an online platform. It's an online platform. I think we can drop a link maybe somewhere in the comment section, or we can have a phone number that you can reach out to. And there is a huge WhatsApp community, or you can go directly on our website. But we love the WhatsApp because it creates that interactive environment where you can brainstorm with fellow nation builders and have perspective on what is going on. But the first step is to sign up for Nation Builders University. Our website is csdphope.org, csdphope.org. And if you log in on that website, or if you just click the link and you open up the website, you will see right at the navigation bar, there is Nation Builders University. When you click it, there is a questionnaire that you're going to fill in order to access the course. So that in that process, you will start understanding if you're committed to really see this country change. Because there's one thing that people say, I want change. Okay, this is what change looks like. It's beautiful, it's easy, we can get it, but can we put in the work? And I think, yes, so that is how you can access maybe Nation Builders. There will be probably a link in this video below, or you can go to csdphope.org, or there will be a phone number that we can drop and you can call and reach out, and somebody will be able to assist you and get you enrolled.
Okay, if you want to be a part of...
So, Mr. Leo, to add on that, this is not just an institution that was created out of just emotion. We looked at what maybe Americans were doing maybe 100 years ago, the kind of thinking that they had, because people think, oh, I can just come here to America and I get the money, put it in the bank, and I come back home, and then we can create that back home. You can have the buildings, you can have the houses, but there is a mindset that created the wealth that we see in America. And so with that, the collection of books and courses that we have in Nation Builders University looks at what Americans did, so that when you understand the foundation of their prosperity, you will be able to grab what actually led them to where they are today. And when you hold that, you understand the mindset that created this nation, you run with it. And I think that is the foundation of everything that we are building right here. There is a book by Max Weber, and I think that book actually also changed everything for me. I think The Protestant Work Ethic and the Spirit of Capitalism. That is the title of the book by Max Weber. So that book actually explains the spirit of prosperity in America. The spirit. There is, money is spiritual. Wealth is a spiritual concept. Wealth is not material. People think wealth is something that you can touch and feel, but wealth is a spiritual concept. God said, let there be light. So everything that was being manifested by the words that came out of the mouth of God became a reality, became prosperity, became what we saw. So it starts with the mind. And so wealth is a spiritual concept. To add to that, there are different stratas or maybe different levels when it comes to wealth, right? And this is where we get ourselves stuck. And I take this as an opportunity to explain this. Like, okay, the number one is physical. That is the lowest form of wealth creation. And that is where most people focus on. They ask you, what job are you doing? Are you putting in the hours? We use our body to create wealth. That is the lowest form of wealth creation. Number two is management. That is the level where you are able to manage people, put people together. And you see people in organizations, they say, I'm in upper level management, I'm in this level. And they make some good money. Why? Because they can manage people. And you ask yourself, why is it that I work so hard? But this man is just the manager and he walks around and yet he earns more than me. Because it is more difficult to put people together to get stuff done than it is to implement what has already been done. So most people find themselves at the level of implementation where they use their body to make money. So now the next form is communication. That is where we see maybe the A-list celebrities, maybe the Beyoncés, the Jay-Z's. What are they doing? They are communicating to make money. They use their mouth to make money. So that is the third level of communication. The fourth level of communication is imagination. Imagination. God thought about what could be. The next thing he said it, right? He said it. Why? God the Father, God said, let us make man. So you see that there was kind of a unity between maybe the Godhead that created everything that we see. But my point is, we have been focusing a lot in our country at this lowest level of wealth production. Even wherever we find ourselves, even in the diaspora, our people predominantly focus on this level of wealth creation where they use their body, use their time to make money. You rich people, they buy time with their money. We sell our time for money. But rich people use their money to buy time. That is the difference. And this kind of thinking, you find individuals in a community that think at this capacity. All of a sudden, we will see wealth everywhere. We will see wealth, like everywhere around the nation. So I think I've said enough on that. So my focus is to get Cameroonians at the level where they start thinking like, okay, I don't only have to use my body and my time to make money. I can start using management skills, using my brain, right? I can use my thinking. I can communicate. And I make money. Like what you're doing here, Mr. Leo, some people can underestimate like just speaking life into people, coordinating people, helping the nation to have perspective through your platform. This is life-giving. And somebody might look at this and say the person who lifts weight is doing more than you, or the person who puts in time is doing more than you, but you are using your words and your platform to initiate change. So I think this is where we find ourselves today.
Mr. Roland, many persons are really not clear when you say there are more opportunities back home than out there where you live. Can you clarify those watching us the more?
Yes, Mr. Leo, truly, we have opportunities back home than here in the States. It's very simple. If I want to start a company in Cameroon right now, there are chances that even if I'm not as perfect as someone here in America, I'll be able to solve a problem back home that will be appreciated by the people back home. Right here in the United States of America, in order to start a business right here, you have to make sure that your services is top class. If it's not, you cannot compete with this environment. You can't. you go out of business. I'm a businessman. I run a business here. I'm not running a business that serves African. So I understand what it means, because I'm dealing with in an industry where you have to compete with other people within the larger American community. If you are running a business that has to do with selling food to Africans or only Africans, or maybe running an African restaurant, that is something different. But if you are in an industry that you have to compete with the rest of the individuals within this country, you will start understanding what real business looks like. And I'm saying it is easy for you to start a business back home and you are not that perfect in what you're doing. It could be construction, because I've worked with people back home, even in the construction industry, in different industries, and I'm looking at the way they do things. And I'm like, you can easily succeed back home. You can pick one good idea. Remember the thing I said in the beginning, like, okay, when you see a successful individual, model 3 things. You can model something that someone is doing right here in America, regardless of what that industry is. And you have a mediocre version of that production or whatever that is back home, and become successful, and your people will praise you. But right here, for example, the film that Kum Quintus produced, for example, he's a big fan. I love his work. I love what he's been doing. I'm a big fan of his work, Kum Quintus, what he's done with the film production industry in Cameroon. If you look at what he's done at the level of nation, that is standard. That is right. I mean, at the level of Africa, because that's where I see Kum Quintus. I'm not putting him just at the level of Cameroon. He's good. At the level of Africa, he is good. But if you look at what he's done compared to America's standard, you realize that it wouldn't come close, right? But what is my point? That what you see happening here, or what you start back home, there is a high chance of you succeeding there than here. That is why many people here, most of our people, when they travel abroad, they end up having jobs. It's tough to do business here because it's cutthroat. You have to be, you have to be extremely good in order to succeed in business within the larger American community. So imagine, Mr. Liu, all these industries that I've talked about, that you start a business with minimal knowledge about that industry in Cameroon. Imagine how far you can go. And you will serve your people. And you will help them be able to have some goods and services within the community without necessarily depending on the government. So these are opportunities that we have, but we just have to open our minds to these opportunities.
Okay. In the book, there is a call for unity and social responsibility. You say beyond economic progress, the Cameroon dream calls for peace, unity, and social responsibility. It acknowledges the Anglophone crisis and urges dialogue and shared vision to bring lasting peace. Can you shed light on this?
Yes. Yes. Talking about the initiative of social responsibility and peace and moving forward and all of that. Like I said, social responsibility is a very broad subject. It's very broad. But in our context, there are people doing maybe businesses in our communities that at the end of the day, I think they prioritize this piece more than others, right? Because in order for their businesses to thrive, they have to maybe operate in a peaceful environment. But what I'm actually talking about is Cameroonians understanding. If every Cameroonian harbor the belief that peace is their responsibility, in the next 1 month, we don't need no UN, we don't need no government, there will be peace in our community. Social responsibility, social, community responsibility, national responsibility. If we harbor that mentality, the American Civil War went on for a considerable period of time. No nation came and put Americans on the table to fix their problem. None. Go read it. Go do your research on that. No nation on earth put Americas on the table like say, oh, Americans, we have the North and the South states fighting. They want to secede and all of that. That was the same our story. Americans fought and they wanted to split up. Why? Some people wanted to keep slaves. Some others say, no, let's let go of this idea of slavery and slave trade. Others wanted to keep their guns. Others say, no, we should build a state where there's no guns. Civilians should not be allowed to hold guns. And so there was this divide. Today in Texas, you have the right to hold you have the right to bear arms in Texas. There are other states like California, you don't have the right to bear arms. So what is my point? They were fighting. They wanted to split the nation, just like we are doing right now. But guess what? They realized that it was a tough journey and they were losing. They were just destroying themselves. They decided to sit together and say, let's bring an end to this. And we had militaries on both ends. But in our own situation, we have military on one end, and on the other side, we have civilians. And that's why we had many civilian casualties. In Nigeria, for example, they had military on both ends. But today, America and Nigeria has not yet divided. So this is how you study a case, study a problem, and then you realize, oh man, I'm just wasting my time. Let me instead engage in something that is meaningful, that at least at the end of the day, I'll have something for myself. I'll have something for my family. My father or mother will live to see me again. And that is all perspective. And like I'm saying, if Cameroonians today, as I'm talking to you, Mr. Liu, if they are hearing my voice, Cameroonians, wherever you are around the world, if you listen to what I'm saying here, in 1 month, you don't need the police, you don't need military, you don't need anything. In 1 month, we can have a peaceful environment and start building and moving forward. Everything should not end in a way that we have to have the UN or have some international organization to come put us on the table and train us like little children to solve our problems, so that at the end of the day, we're like, okay, the UN came here. We can fix our problems and move forward. I strongly believe that we don't need the United Nations. If they want to support us with money, we will take it. If they want to support us with advice or maybe counsel, we will take their counsel. But I don't think we need United Nations or any foreign nation, the United States of America or UK, to come fix Cameroon for us. When they come fix it and they leave and we have another problem, so they have to come back again. So we will handle our problems, right, this time around, so that in the future we take responsibility for our own problems and our own nation. And with that, that will be a template for us to solve even other future problems, rather than depending on them to come all the time and take care of us like little children. So that is my perspective. So the responsibility I'm talking about and sustainable development comes with that every citizen within the nation understands what it means to be a Cameroonian. As a Cameroonian, I'm an honest person. Even if you have not been, from now moving forward, you can be an honest person. If you say you'll be here at 7, be there at 7. If you say you take my money to make the cheers, you make the cheers. If you said you do something, you do it. That is what we start defining as what it means to be a Cameroonian. A Cameroonian is somebody that is collaborative, not somebody that is disagreeable on everything, even when they see facts. And we will be collaborative with each other, regardless whether you speak French or you speak English. Can you do the job? Yes. Can I see it, what you've done? Yes. I will give you the job because you are competent, not because of where you come from. This is what the new Cameroonian look like. We are defining it, and we say this is what it looks like. Why? Because we have seen what makes good human beings around the world. Why? What makes somebody just and another not just? And so, Mr. Liu, this is the definition. And I think through this book, we actually outline those traits that we want Cameroonians to embody, that we know that are traits that have built other great individuals around the world. This is what it means from now moving forward. If you've been holding guns, taking people's lives, you think you are too righteous, and the government is to be blamed, and everybody in the country is wrong except you, you can start doing the right thing from here moving forward as a Cameroonian. That you don't destroy your fellow citizen. Even if you disagree with somebody, you can still let them be without killing them because you disagree with them. You must not agree with everybody. We can disagree, but we can still live together as one. And I think it is that level of maturity that will create that new Cameroonian that we are talking about. That I can disagree with you, but it doesn't mean I'm going to take your life. That is your duty to protect your fellow citizen. Okay. If another Cameroonian is hurt, you should feel that pain. We don't need government to tell you this. You should know that if someone in our nation, in our community, in my environment is hurting, I remember, Mr. Leo, the time we were growing up in Cameroon. If you are doing something wrong, you don't need your biological mother to correct you in the community. I think we recall, I don't know if things have changed, but I remember, you don't need your biological parents to correct you. And a senior citizen within your community will correct you if you're doing something wrong. They will whoop you if it's necessary to get your act together. And I think that level of community and commitment, we need that spirit again. We need that energy again in our country.
Okay. Just to know that our guest is Mr. Roland Fru, who is based in the United States of America. He is the author of a book that is going to be launched in the days ahead, titled The Cameroonian Dream, The Cameroon Dream. But he also runs an online university called the Nation.
Regardless of where you find yourself around the world, you can be able to buy the book on Amazon and have it shipped to you. But if you want a signed copy from me directly, that will only be possible for those who live in Europe or America. If you're in Cameroon, we can also do the shipping, but it might take longer, but we can autograph that and have it over to you. So that is the launch date, 25th November, and it's going to be live online. So do not miss it. It will start from 6 p.m. Cameroon time to 10 p.m. Cameroon time. It's a 4-hour event. We are going to be having some amazing guests. I think CY Pancho or CY Pancho is going to be there. We are going to have, you will have the flyer out there and you'll see those who are on the program. We are going to have Professor Julius Ngo as well, one of the most prominent historian, the most learned, one of, if not the most learned historian in our country. He's going to be speaking at that event as well. So it's a must attend event. So we're going to have the link and you can sign up for the event right now and secure your spot. We are going to also have the Zoom section. That is those who want to ask questions after the event. You can log in and watch live on Zoom and as well. So that is how we're structuring the event. Okay.
So if you want his contact, just write to me after this program and I will send it to you. Thank you very much, Mr. Roland Fru, for accepting to be our guest for tonight's edition of our Prime Hour. And to the production team, thank you to you, Desmond and Eli, and to all of you who took the pains to watch this edition of the program on Prime Hour. Stay blessed. Bye-bye.